When I think about thinking, I find that I am often bound by thoughts worded with spatial language. Sometimes my head is in the clouds, or an idea is hard to grasp. We say that well-substantiated ideas are rooted or grounded. We speak of lofty ambitions. We characterize one who is thinking calmly and clearly as down to earth. I notice that often when our thinking is expressed in language, the specific encoding suggests space. I wonder about this use of uppish and downish language, which is a feature of my thinking. Is this just a vestigial feature of the common jargon, or is there more of a there? The rules of language evolve over time. Is this spatial sense of ideas that comes out in our language today something that has been present through the past or that will persist into the future? If language, words, are just symbolic representations of something more fundamental, information, is there a deeper truth driving this spatial sense of ideas into our speech? These are questions I aim to explore, now and in the future. For present purposes, I will lean into what I am noticing and proceed under the assumption that something valuable might be yielded by doing so. We at times refer to ideas as of a space. I will try to formalize this concept of ideas in a space by borrowing from known tools. We have modeled space with the concepts of dimensions, points, parameters more generally. With these as bases, we further build more useful concepts like distance in translation, parallel and orthogonal structure. It seems to me that these tools could be useful in a framework for evaluating ideas. This I will call the space of ideas. Many learn in school about the Cartesian plane. The Cartesian plane is the long-standing choice representation of a two-dimensional space, named for the mathematician René Descartes. Its dimensions are typically represented as x and y, and these names are assigned to the axes, which are horizontal and vertical respectively, and which intersect with the origin, the point 0, 0. These concepts of dimensions, axes, points, etc. are those which I will borrow and apply to the space of ideas. I suggest the first dimension of ideas to be abstraction. Abstraction is the distinction between that which is abstract and that which is tangible. It is that which is concrete, aligned with that which is conceptual. It is the sense of that which is within reach and that which can only be referred to or suggested. In the space of ideas, tangible is down and abstract is up, like the y-axis in the Cartesian plane. I have chosen abstraction to be represented as up and down for a few reasons. Metaphors go over our heads sometimes. The ability to think abstractly matures as we grow up. The earth, the solid and tangible entity which supports us at all times, is always beneath us, below our feet. When we start new campaigns, we sometimes call these grassroots movements. And when we build structures, we typically do so from the bottom up. It seems right that abstract is up and tangible is down. I suggest the second dimension of ideas to be congruence. Congruence is the distinction between true and false. It is that which is verifiable, aligned with that which is contradictory. It is the sense of that which conforms and confirms, and that which is dissident and disproves. That which is elucidated by evidence, and that which falls away as having been only illusory. In the space of ideas, false is left and true is right, like the x-axis in the Cartesian plane. When something happens that we don't expect, we sometimes say that it came out of left field. When we realize we have lost our train of thought, we sometimes say that we took a left turn at the last consistent idea we remember. There is the phrase, 2 lefts don't make a right, in which left refers to something less than the ideal, and right refers to the ideal. It is interesting that right here meaning directionally to the right, or distinct from forwards, backwards, up, down, or left, and right, here meaning correct or proper, are homonyms. When we answer an objective question with a correct and true objective answer, we say we have answered rightly. It seems then appropriate that false is to be left and true is to be right in the space of ideas. This seems sufficient for defining a framework within which ideas can be comparatively evaluated. Ideas can be more abstract or more tangible, and they can be more true or more false. I will now illustrate this with an example. Consider the following set of 4 related statements. The first statement: I have played the piano for several years because I enjoy it. The second statement: a love for music can shape one's life. The third statement: no soul has ever been touched by the songs of a virtuoso. And the fourth statement: I have never played an instrument. The first and the second statements are true. They represent concepts which are highly congruent with reality. Music has shaped many lives, including my own. In contrast, the third and fourth statements are false. They are a rejection of reality. Contrary to the claims of the false statements, many have indeed been moved to tears even by beautiful performances, and I have in fact played several instruments, the piano and the horn the foremost of these. The second and the third statements are abstract. They refer to concepts which must be interpreted. The specific words used have alternate meanings which must be understood beyond what a dictionary might suggest. This is necessary for the fullest meaning of the statements to be apparent. What does a love for music refer to outside of a subjective frame? What does it mean to shape a life or to touch a soul? We come to have an intuition for phrases like these as we grow, as we read literature, and as we meet and speak with new people. In contrast, the first and fourth statements are tangible. They refer to concepts which are direct and obvious. A conventional understanding of the rules of grammar and the definitions of the words composing the statements is sufficient to piece together their meaning. They are not constructed with metaphor. There is no distance between what the tangible statements seem to mean and what they actually do mean. The space of ideas is intended as a tool with which concepts can be evaluated. It is constructed in acknowledgement of how we speak about our thinking. It can be used to visualize the relative interpretability of statements. For example, in terms of the space of ideas, the concept of convincing someone, of making someone believe in a proposition, can be represented visually as just the move from left to right. I intend to explore the applications in communication of representing thinking in this way. The concept of the intuition pump, for example, might be visualized in this space as vectors between points. To the degree the space of ideas truly reflects something about human thinking and communication, it is true that the varying allocation of a concept to a point in the space of ideas is elucidating of our human differences in capacities of information processing and of our circumstantial differences of information availability. The object of attention and focus of one may be totally irrelevant to another. We think differently. Many are familiar with the experience of trying to get others to care about what they care about as a first step towards communication. We build relationships with those with whom the barrier to entry of caring and of understanding is lower. The space of ideas is a model which allows for the visual representation of these concepts. Gaps of understanding are visualized as distances between points. Communication which leads to understanding are visualized as paths successfully connecting points. Failures of communication are visualized as non-intersecting curves. Hermetically sealed thought spaces are visualized as the interior of bounded curves. Thus, the space of ideas is suggested. It is initially considered as a result of noticing the ways that we talk about thinking. It is built from two dimensions as a borrowed useful feature from the Cartesian plane. These dimensions are selected to be abstraction, a relative measure of complexity, and congruence, a relative measure of objective consistency. Abstraction and congruence are two parameters of concepts as such, which are resilient across domains and which can be used to relatively evaluate ideas. In closing, pay attention to how you think and how you speak. Words have a power of their own, worth noticing.